to force the department's hand.
And with that report from John Fryer, a quick look at the rest of tonight's news stories. The American Secretary of State James Baker has held talks in London with Mrs Thatcher and Douglas Hurd over the Gulf crisis. All three emphasised their insistence on unconditional Iraqi withdrawal. The new President of Ireland, Mary Robinson, has said she wants to visit Ulster. She's the first Irish president not to come from the Fianna Fáil party and also the first woman to hold the job. And Rochdale Council has been criticised in a government report for using out-of-date procedures in dealing with child abuse cases. A quick look at the headlines in four of the main newspapers tomorrow morning. They're all about the Tory leadership. Heseltine steps up a challenge to silent Thatcher. The Guardian has Mr Heseltine back in contention, as it puts it. Heseltine camp weighing the odds in the leadership race, the Daily Telegraph. And the Independent has the spin, of course, of the Bundesbank president deepening the Conservative Party divisions by burying the hard AQ plan. Well, that's all from Newsnight tonight. We'll be back on Monday at 10:30. But for the moment, from all of us on the programme, good night.
On Sunday, Nippon follows the lives of Japanese schoolchildren.
Japan's high level of education and the habits and attitudes learned in school have been crucial to her economic success. Jukus are the cramming schools Japanese children go to make sure they can pass the exams they need.
How long have we got, sir?
I know it says 25 minutes, but you're doing it in 20, OK?
There's a bravado exhortation which children use. Pass with 4, fail with 5, referring to hours of sleep.
The Japanese learning machine in Nippon, Sunday at 8:35 on 2.
We've got good foot-stomping country sounds in a couple of minutes in New West. First, here's a look at the weather with John Ketley.
Good evening. Well, for the past week, we've seen temperatures somewhat below the normal for the early part of November. Quite cold conditions, really, with the winds between north and east. Well, that wind is now beginning to swing round to the southwest. That means to say we're going to see milder weather coming in across Britain, but also bands of rain from time to time. It's also introduced some poor air quality into the London area today. That air quality likely to remain quite poor for the first half of Saturday and then beginning to improve later in the day as somewhat clearer weather comes in from the southwest. Now, quite a change in the temperatures today. You can see here on the league table up to 13 or 14 degrees down in the southwest. But as you went eastwards and you went north as well, it was significantly colder. And one place that isn't on the league table here was Inverness. The temperature up there today only 1 degree, some freezing fog for much of the time. But you can still see many places today didn't even reach double figures. Well, we've got bands of rain already crossing the country. We can see a significant band now, which is going to be moving northwards through the second part of the night and gradually clearing away from northern Scotland during Saturday night. But then a temporary ridge of high pressure really before the next band of rain comes along for Sunday. So a wet day in the west on Sunday. Well, tonight it's a pretty murky scene everywhere. A lot of fog on the higher ground, very misty everywhere. Mist and outbreaks of rain, some quite heavy rain moving north. A band of heavier rain now coming into the southwestern districts as well. But later in the night, you will find somewhat clearer weather, eventually getting into the far southwest. But a pretty wet night in some places, particularly up the western side of the country. And a very foggy one too, but a mild one. Temperatures beginning to rise all the time. The minimum about 2 degrees at the moment in the Aviemore area. Well, tomorrow we've got these weather fronts beginning to move north across the country and this ridge of high pressure coming along for Saturday night. So it's a dull start. Very misty start, a lot of fog up on the higher ground, and there'll be rain in many places too. But already some brighter, showering weather in the southwest, and very gradually through the day, we'll find this brighter weather beginning to cross Northern Ireland, beginning to get into the northwest of England, through Wales, and into the Midlands during the afternoon. But plenty of rain to come, particularly up in the north, and rain for much of the time over in eastern England as well. But quite a mild day for all that. 12 to 14 in the south, so the mid-50s Fahrenheit. Still struggling a bit in Scotland, only 8 to 10. But even so, that represents something of an increase on the past few days. Well, that's Sunday's chart, and you can see more weather fronts coming in from the southwest on Sunday. But a bright start in many places. There'll be some overnight fog patches to clear away first of all. But then plenty of dry, bright weather, I think, for a time. But rain getting into the far west before midday. That rain getting to much of northern and western Britain as we run through the afternoon, with the wind increasing as well. But one thing about Sunday, it will be another mild day. Well, looking into Europe for Sunday, you can still see some fairly unsettled conditions around, really much of northwest Europe seeing further rain. There's been a lot of rain through the Mediterranean this past week, but just a few showers left in the central part, I think, by the middle part of Sunday. Reasonable temperatures down there too, around about 18 to 20 degrees, but quite foggy conditions across the Balkans in particular. Some of that fog probably lingering all day, and the coldest weather of all, as you might expect, I suppose, up there in Finland and the Soviet Union. Well, that's it from me. May I wish you a very pleasant night.
Our film in just under half an hour is Alfred Hitchcock's Spellbound, starring Ingrid Bergman, who falls in love with a man who could easily be a murderer, Gregory Peck. Before that, here on BBC Two, we bid a good evening to Tracy MacLeod with tonight's guest in New West.
Hello. This week's New West is given over to a performance by one of the biggest stars of contemporary country, George Strait, who emerged from South Texas to become the most successful country performer of the last 10 years. His easy style draws mainly on Western swing, the fiddle-led dance music that fuses elements of jazz and country. And though he doesn't write his own songs, he chooses material that enables him to smoulder for the ladies and send himself up at the same time. If you thought country music couldn't be sexy, here's George Strait to prove you wrong.
Hello, I'm George Strait. This is the Ace in the Hole Band, and we're going to do a few songs for you, a few old ones and some new ones. Here's one of the old ones called The Fireman.